The history of horror cinema tends to overlook contributions done by Latinos, whether it be the directors or the films themselves. Latinx horror has certainly left its mark on the genre without people even realizing it. So, let's delve in and see why exactly it should be appreciated by taking a look at some of its best contributors. Many Latinos have grown up hearing ghost stories and terrifying urban legends that include El Chupacabra and La Llorona, which can bring a sort of twisted intimacy when watching a horror movie. Childhood fears are brought back while doing so. Not only that, but plenty of Latin cultures, most notably Mexico with Dia de los Muertos, have strong connections to the dead. There's deep roots in their beliefs of the supernatural world that have evolved over time with claimed paranormal experiences. These experiences and legends can be a big influence in the horror genre, as we have seen in 2019's The Curse of La Llorona, that had a mother doing all she could to protect her children from the titular ghost. Although there was a decent attempt at sharing the tale of the weeping woman, the film was nothing more than your run-of-the-mill scary movie with too many jump scares and a forgettable ghost. In other words, it wasn't worthy of such a popular folklore. For a better adaptation, try taking a look at the Guatemalan horror film simply titled La Llorona that came out the same year. It not only gives a fresh spin on the legend, but also gives viewers a look at the real-life Guatemalan genocides that occurred during the country's civil war in the early 80s. As previously stated, Latino perspective in horror can be there in subtle ways. There are those Spanish language films that only find success in their country, and then there are those that are so well received it garners an American remake. For this case, let's discuss the 2007 found footage movie, Wreck. Found footage has become a popular subgenre in horror, with many of these films gaining box office and critical success, but none have done it in a realistic and unsettling manner the way Wreck did. The Spanish movie made an impact by creating such a gritty atmosphere when blending found footage with the zombie trope. The story of a news story gone wrong in a quarantined apartment building masters tension and genuine terror as those involved endure the horrors this virus brings. Wreck was remade by the United States a year later under the name Quarantine. It too had some effective scares, yet didn't carry any of the realistic uneasiness its predecessor did, and made it more your typical zombie flick by taking out the religious, demonic themes Wreck had that helped make it stand out. It can sometimes be hard to make a movie monster look presentable, but filmmaker Guillermo del Toro has managed to use monstrous creations of his own to get audiences to escape reality. The creations in many of his films can be pure nightmare fuel with their memorable looks. Artistic poetry is the best way to describe his work when he takes you to a new fantasy world with every film he makes. This can especially ring true when he takes his love for all things gothic and makes a haunting setting for these monsters to lurk. Recommend you watch Crimson Peak, The Devil's Backbone, and Kronos to see for yourself. Del Toro has also done his part by producing other horror films by Latinos, one of those being The Orphanage. As the directorial debut for J.A. Bayona, who would go on to direct Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, The Orphanage is a form of art that has less reliance on jump scares and focuses more on telling a good ghost story. What helps the movie with doing this are frightening performances and a narrative that requires much patience, which can add to the tension that's played throughout. In other words, the movie would rather take its time to scare you and make it up with disturbing images and creepy kids. Although director Robert Rodriguez isn't as well known for horror or magical realism the way Del Toro is, he still has created great works that are worth a mention. From Dusk Till Dawn was a stylish horror action flick from the 90s that subverted expectations with its second half. What was supposed to be a story of two criminal brothers on the run to Mexico ends up being a crazy fight to the death at a strip club full of bloodthirsty vampires. Although it can be over the top with its violence, it doesn't stop it from being an entertaining watch with its Tarantino-esque dialogue and its surprising second act. Not to mention Danny Trejo and Salma Hayek, while playing the roles they're usually known for, the Latin tough guy and the Latina bombshell, they do so with a cool vampiric twist. This is just a few examples of what Latinx horror is like, but hopefully it's enough to convince you that it deserves more recognition, because horror can be something that Latinos understand well and have showcased this with brilliant films that can influence more art from others.